I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses. It would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hindquarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the 30-30. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. I am your host, Wayne, joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Miss Tiffany. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm good. I'm getting our gang all riled up in the chat.
What are you doing that for? You getting them mad at us?
No, because they're just so fun. They're so fun.
They are. We got some awesome regulars. Before we get into it, I want to draw everyone's attention to the poll question. If Bigfoot were discovered to be real, would it negatively affect the business of Bigfoot? By business, I mean all the merch and shows like this and just the monetization of Bigfoot. If it turned out this thing was discovered tomorrow, would it impact us negatively? So everyone, please take a second and give your opinion there. All right, who all we got with us tonight? Just all the regulars?
Our regulars so far. Well, Blue Crossroads is in here. Bristol, Troy, Mr. Tiffany, Naoma. I think that's all right now. That's chatting.
Blue Crossroads, that's not familiar to me. Welcome. Hope that you are doing well tonight. Miss Naoma, how you doing, ma'am? Always a pleasure. T-Roy and I will be roughing it this weekend in the land between the lakes. Our guest tonight, Jack Smar, is from Kentucky. So I want to get his opinion about the land between the lakes, if he's ever been there or has done anything there.
Mr. Griffin Smar is in
Griffin
here.
Smar, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Griffin is related to Jack.
I would venture to say so.
Welcome, Griffin. All right, let's go ahead and pay the bills, as Brian would say.
Bills are stupid.
They are. I hate bills.
Me too.
Anyway, unless I'm the bill and you're supposed to pay me, then I like being the bill. Everybody, if you are new, we did mention a couple of newbies out there tonight. If you would, please take a second and just hit that subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. Give the show a thumbs up and all that. But more importantly, subscribe. Tell your family and friends and help us to keep growing the show.
And if you would like to come on with Wayne and I, you can reach out and get him, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com, or myself, Tiffany at paranormalworldproductions.com. We would love to have you. We are currently booking in April, so we would love to have you come on with us.
Want to ask everybody head over to our website, paranormalworldproductions.com. Check out all the other shows that are over there. Sasquatch Odyssey, this show, obviously, Paranormal Odyssey, True Crime Odyssey. Brian has been releasing quite a few new true crime shows. So if that's an interest of yours, it is of mine. I love true crime stuff. If you haven't checked out True Crime Odyssey, head over to the website and give it a look. See what you think about it. And there are some other shows there as well. Pick you up some merch. Need to see some people in some Paranormal Odyssey shirts. So yeah,
Yes.
paranormalworldproductions.com.
And if you have any questions for tonight's guest, we implore you to ask questions. We love it when you guys interact with us. Just put them all in capital letters so we don't miss them. If we don't grab them right away, just give us a little bit and we'll work it into the conversation.
Yeah, right, guys. It's like you said, we love it when you ask questions, but sometimes if it's in the middle of a conversation, we don't want to interrupt our guests. So it's not always the best time to ask, but we always do our best to get that question out there. But if time goes by and we don't ask, please feel free to type it out again, but put it in all caps.
Absolutely.
All right. And lastly, want to remind everyone about our membership. We are still doing we haven't got to our 50 members yet. So we're still doing the giveaway. We will draw a name from one of the first 50 members, and that person will win a Yeti lunchbox, an autographed copy of one of Naomi Fann's books, and a Paranormal Odyssey t-shirt. So ask you guys, if you would, please become a member of the show. It's $1.99 a month. And it just helps us out, gives us a little bit of extra money for the time and the effort that we put in for doing the shows, and we would greatly appreciate it.
And they're so fun. Our members onlys are so fun.
Yeah, we've been doing them just about at least every other Saturday night, and we did one this past Saturday, and they're a blast. They really are. Always fun.
We always enjoy it. We always get great feedback on it.
Yeah, I think so. All right, you got anything you want to get into and talk about before we bring Jack out?
Not that I can think of. I'm just ready to hear what he has to say.
All right, guys, we got a gentleman that has been doing this for a while backstage. I met him at the BFRO expedition that I went on, that Miss Lori Wade put on here in Tennessee. Jack lives in Kentucky. He has been a member of the BFRO since 2009. And I believe the BFRO started in 2005. So he's been in it almost as long as it's been in existence, and had all kinds of experiences, just a wealth of knowledge and information. And I asked him on the trip if he would mind coming on and sharing some of that with us, and he said he would be happy to. So he is backstage, and I'm going to go ahead and bring him out. Jack, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing?
Hey, Jack.
Hey, good to see you.
Doing very, very well. Appreciate you taking the time to come and hang out with us this evening. It's a pleasure, buddy. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's always good to support the cause.
You're absolutely right. Let me go. I said I went out on a limb, and the other smaller individual in here is related to you. I suppose.
Yes, that would be my son Griffin. I have 4 kids. He's my son number 2, kid number 3.
Awesome.
He's up in Toledo, Ohio. Hi, Griffin.
Ohio. You're in Kentucky, right, Jack?
Yes, I'm in Kentucky in Versailles, outside of Lexington. So my BFRO territory, if you may, is basically the eastern third of the state. Although I did hear you mention something about Lampoona Lakes, which I have been there before. But a lot of my people are typically in the Appalachian area, and I grew up in West Virginia, so that's that's who I'm more attuned to culturally as well, and sensitive to the way that that they deal with outsiders and unknown people and strangers and all that kind of thing.
Well, we've got a Samuel Smar in here too.
Yep, that's my son number 3, child number 4. Hey, Sam.
Hey, Sam, hit that subscribe button for us if you don't mind.
Yeah, get Big Eddie.
Yeah. Oh man, Rayleigh Smar. You got the whole family.
All right, 3 for 4.
There you go. Awesome. Jack, tell us all about how you got your start in this crazy Bigfoot world.
Well, I have to back up a little bit. I grew up as in Boy Scouts, so I've always been camping a lot, and I've been very outdoors type of person. My first camp out, and I see it's the title. This is BFRO OG, which my wife says, "Was that old goat?" I said, "No, I think that's old guy."
Old guy.
My first camp out was probably 1970. I've spent a lot of time out in the woods, and I've really enjoyed it. I went into the Army right out of college, out in Colorado, and we did a lot of training in the woods and training at night. So just continuation of that. When I retired from the Army, I was in the active and guard and reserves. I was kind of looking around for something else to do, and I came up on the BFRO website, and they were having an expedition. So I talked to two of the local scoutmasters here. I was an assistant scoutmaster to go to an expedition in Tennessee. So that's how I got started. My love of the outdoors and just natural curiosity. And just like
so
I saw the Patty Gimlin film, I saw Steve Austin versus Bigfoot, all those guys, $6 Million Man. So I'm of that era.
Okay, so you had a lifelong interest in Bigfoot. Is that safe to say?
Yes. And
okay.
Just to back up a little bit, in case Matt Moneymaker sees this, he started BFRO in 1995.
Oh, did I say? I'm sorry.
He said 2005, but that's okay.
Okay, yeah, I apologize for that. But you started when? Repeat that.
My first expedition with BFRO was 2009, and
okay.
It was and I was we went to this, of course, an undisclosed area, and they were looking for people to cover what they call a remote site. So they had everybody in a regular camp together in a group, but they had like an outpost situation on a hill out by ourselves. And so me and the other 2 guys said, "Yeah, we'll do it, sure." And everybody looked at us like, "Oh, you're so brave. You're so brave." We didn't know anything. Like, why are we brave? Oh my gosh. So as it turns out, during one of those mornings of that expedition, we were usually, if you go to an expedition, you do a night activity, you have a debrief at 11 a.m. the next day, and then you have planning time, then you go out again the next night. So during that one of those cycles, we were waiting for the morning meeting with the main group. So we were kind of chilling out on our mountainside, and then we heard basically our camp got surrounded by an animal that was roaring at us, and it was the strangest thing. It sounded like a lion / bear / something very guttural, and it was screaming at us 3, and I really can't even reproduce what it was doing. It was like that. And the first time it happened, we looked at each other and said, "What?" And then a few minutes later, it did it again, and then it did it again, and then I started getting my pencil out and started doing Roman numerals. It did it 11 times from this area And then we're like, oh gosh. And then it stopped. And then 15 minutes later, if you're looking at 12 o'clock off to our 3 o'clock, it started up again. And it was just in the wood line outside of what we could see. And it started that roaring again, like we're getting, like it was trying to intimidate us. And mine wasn't at night. This was like 10 in the morning, sun shining, birds singing. And we're like, what is happening? So we got in our car and left.
Now, was that your first expedition? You said, Jack?
Expedition, yeah. Like if you go to one of these BFRO expeditions, it always seems like something always happens to the new people. Like I don't. It might be coincidence, but they call them newbies. Newbies always have something crazy going on with them. And another,
I experienced that on the trip that I was out there, Jack. That on the very first night out there, a newbie. It wasn't me. I was considered a newbie, even though I've been doing this for several years on my own. But one of the newbies, a lady, had some kind of encounter on that first night. Do you remember
that? What was it? I don't.
They saw something. They talking about it was the opposite. There was something on thermal, but instead of being red, it showed up white.
At the graveyard, instead of being hot, it was dark, like it was cold.
Yeah.
And they exactly. Thermal somebody else to verify, and that was a strange expedition. That was, I don't know if that was finding Bigfoot or finding ghosts on that one. That was that was when you're out in the woods in the dark, you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, we got a question from your daughter here real quick. We'll go ahead and get that up. She says, what is your most concrete piece of evidence you have found?
Well, I will tell you, daughter, I was on an expedition the month after I met you in West Virginia, and we were on one of those rails trails. I can't really tell you where it is, but we were going along this river, and a lot of people had thermal recording, me included. And a newbie stopped the group and said he just saw something walk along the tree line and stop. And so we went back and looked, and on our therms, we could see this figure. We could see his head and shoulders, and he was standing there probably about 200 yards away. It was a meadow. We thought at the time it was a river because it was pitch black and there was no lights. And we have that recorded. He's standing, and then you can see him crouch down into the weeds, and then poke his head back up and do it again like that. And he's overlooking these deer. So somebody marked the trail, the gravel on the trail. We went back the next day. The fellow that recorded it ran down that meadow across the field. He's 6'3", and he reached up, and he couldn't reach the top of the brush where the head was poking up.
Oh wow!
It had to have been at least 10 feet tall, and there wasn't any logs or any rocks to stand on or anything. So anyway, that's recorded, and it's a thermal. You don't see clothes, you just see a white figure. And I've always told myself, if I ever see something like that, I'm going to walk towards it. But at the time, I thought when we started, we were right beside a river. I thought that meadow was still the river. So 20/20 hindsight.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's probably the best. And I don't own that. I don't own that thermal. I actually took it on my thermal, but my thermal is an old thermal, and it won't download anymore because it's outdated. So I really don't know what happened to that clip, but it's there. One
Okay.
I want to make about the BFRO, there are, if you go on the website, the BFRO.net, you'll see the published, you could look at it, reports by area, and you can look even in your county, wherever you are, Tennessee, Kentucky, whatever, any of the 48 contiguous states and Alaska, there's going to be a report. And there's a source for the investigators, where we go and look, where people call in and write in or type it in. I want to say probably 10% of those reports that get reported from the public actually make it to that website. So even though there's tons of them on the website, there are tons more that have been investigated and either debunked, or people haven't gotten to, or they're just hidden in enough time to or they don't have the resources to publish all of those reports out there. It's phenomenal. I want to say, I bet you there's at least 30 reports a day nationwide of Bigfoot.
Really?
Nope.
Yeah,
We just had a report, and Matt Moneymaker is heading that up, like 20-ish minutes from our house here. And it's in Reed Mountain, in the Reed Mountain area of Roanoke.
That's Virginia, right?
It is.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Now, is it true, Jack, that now you touched on the reports that you can go to the website and see per county? Is it true that there's also a section that isn't available to the public, that is encounters that's just there for y'all?
Yeah, that's called, it's kind of like a working file. And they actually, so like I can do a report and I can do it all and I can write it up, and it just doesn't get published. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot more out there than meets the eye just on the website.
Okay, but it eventually will get published.
Some of them will, some of them won't. I mean, there's not much staff at the BFRO National. There's quite a few up there.
That's hard to believe. I mean, it's amazing that there's so many coming in.
And okay, and some of those that come in that we have to debunk are obviously like school kids that are, saying that a Bigfoot ran up to them and kissed them on the mouth, stupid things. So debunk those, of course. But I want to say probably the most common Bigfoot type of sighting is the one that crossed the road. I'm driving in the dark, one crossed the road in front of me.
Yeah, why? Do you think there's anything to that, Jack? I was going to ask you that anyway. Let's go ahead and get to it. Because my personal opinion is these things have been able to maintain being hidden for all these years, centuries, gone all this time without being seen. They're so good at it, but all of a sudden you've got a car coming and they go stupid all of a sudden. I mean, how does that happen? It's like they wait to the last minute to run out. It's like they're playing chicken or something. Do you think there's anything to that? Why are there so many roadside sightings?
I think there's roadside, it's funny because I've seen, let me see if I can record this right. I've seen reports where people are in a camp or a deer stand, and it knows you're there and it just walks by and doesn't care, because they're the boss of the woods. A lot of times, as they'll stand still, and as you drive by, and maybe they think that's good enough. I don't know. To go back to that other one though, a Bigfoot in the dark, even though they are in the dark, they still hide like it's high noon. So I don't know. And this is my opinion. I think they think that we can probably see as good as they can in the dark.
I've never thought about that. That's a good point to make, Jack.
I'll give you an example. have you ever heard of the Mike Green photo in North Carolina, outside of Charlotte, the candy bar?
The candy bar, yeah, I have.
Yeah, so Mike Green, who passed away last year, when he set that camera up inside of a tent and he had it on a stump and he put the candy bar on it and he drove away, and didn't come back until a long time later. So the camera was running, thermal camera was running in the back of a tent, so you couldn't actually see the camera. If you watch that video, the being, the Sasquatch, even though it's pitch black, it's creeping around and crawling on its belly, and it crawls up and it reaches up and grabs the candy bar and comes back down, even though it's pitch black.
Yeah. I've never even really thought about that. I mean, what would be the point in it? But I remember that video.
Yeah.
They showed it on Finding Bigfoot, and I've seen it a couple other places.
Yeah.
We've got a couple questions here for you. The first one comes from Troy. Troy asks, are most reports from a single individual or a group of people?
The reports that come in are from a wide band of people. We've had people that were sheriffs. We've had people who are lawyers. We've had people who are campers. We've had teenagers. They're just all across the spectrum. And then we also have reports that people will call in like an emergency to the BFRO and be really shaken up because something's happened, and they'll call an investigator to go out there real quick. Like I've had people in Eastern Kentucky who've been like harassed to the point of being scared to go out to their car at night or to go to work in the next morning. And I had a guy in Eastern Kentucky that had a Saint Bernard, and he was buying 50 pounds of dog food a week in his carport, and he was like he was knocking tomato steaks, and suddenly there was he was getting return knocks from the woods, and then rocks were coming in, and he was getting pelted with rocks as he's working out his garden. So I said, you know what? Do you have a game camera? He goes, yeah, but I'm using it for deer season. I said, well, after deer season, come down and put it on your carport. And he did that, and guess what? No more nighttime thieves on his carport.
That's amazing, ain't it?
Bigfoot you rarely ever see a picture of a Bigfoot on a game cam. As many game cams are out there should be thousands of pictures of Bigfoot.
Exactly.
They stay away from it. I mean,
that's
I know
another mystery in itself.
Knock trees down in front of them, have gone around behind them and torn them off and thrown them down. I've had lots of those experiences with people.
We got another question from Adam Onan. Okay. What would you consider essential equipment to bring on an expedition aside from normal camping gear?
So when you're a new person going on a expedition, besides your regular camping gear and your rain gear and all that stuff, a red flashlight, because there's somebody there's going to have a recorder, like a dictaphone, a small recorder. Somebody there's going to have that. Somebody's going to have hopefully thermals, and they're coming down in price. I mean, if you can call $500 coming down, you can spend as much as you want to on a thermal.
Yeah.
There's going to be people out there with these directional hearing things, like you see on the side of NFL shows, during games. That stuff's all going to be there. So really what you need to bring is just a good red headlamp that's fairly bright.
And what was the thinking behind the red versus a regular light, Jack?
You know, as I kind of talked before, I was in the Army for a long time, and we did a lot of things at night, mostly at night. And before, back in the late 70s and 80s, there wasn't any thermals that were small. Use red. It doesn't shine as far, and it helps preserve your night vision. So if the theory is this guy has got these giant eyes that can have all these receptors and he can see in the pitch black, he can see you anyway, but it's really to help you to keep your night vision.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I knew there was a reason for it. When I went on this expedition back this past year, they gave out red flashlights. That was one of the things that they gave out on the expedition. So, and I'd been told before that that's all y'all really use.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other encounters because you've been on so many expeditions? I mean, you've been Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia. Are there any other encounters that stick out to you?
Yeah. Let me tell you about this one. We went on an expedition, and once again, we said, "Hey, we want to go to the remote," because of all what happened on the other one. Okay, we got this remote for you. So they took us on top of this mountain along the Tennessee, North Carolina border. So you guys know that that's some really tall mountains. Like they're the Blue Mountains way up there. So they took us to the top of this mountain, and you could see for like 5 minutes if a car's coming because it's winding its way up the trail. So the guy leaves us there, and we excuse me a second. I need to shut a door.
Okay.
You're fine. Great question tonight, guys. I appreciate the all the activity in the chat. So y'all keep them coming.
Thanks. So anyway, we Smoky Mountains. We collect our firewood. We started a fire. It's starting to rain. I just sat down and got settled in, and probably from 30 feet away behind these trees, a 500-pound big bird made his presence known. And if I were to yell right now, it screamed and went, "Ah!" And I didn't have my recorder on.
Oh no!
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
Knew that. I mean, we knew we were the only people out there, and something ginormous, screamed at us. I mean, it was the only way I could describe it as a 500-pound big bird. And and we sat there. Fire started going low, and I told my friend, I said, "Hey, your turn to go out and get the firewood." He goes, "Nope." And for life, I don't know why we just didn't get in the truck and leave at that point. Well, we're adventurous and stupid, so no, we stayed. So we're sitting there. Oh my gosh, it's starting to rain. So my buddy says, "Well, I'm going to bed." Okay, well, I'm going to bed too. So he went to his tent, a little backpacking tent, and I had a little like a little dome tent. And I'm sitting there, and I've got a book, and I'm reading my book. I'm laying down. We just been yelled at like 45 minutes before. The rain's coming down, and I'm laying there, and I feel wet on my elbow. I'm like, oh, geez, my tent's leaking. So I get on my hands and knees, and I skipped the point. After we got yelled at, my friend went to the car and he picked out 2 pistols, one for me and one for him. probably shouldn't have been there, but anyway, we were both armed, right? So I said, "Oh crud! It's raining. I'm going to get soaked." So what do? I got on my hands and knees and I got my flashlight and I'm looking at the scene, trying to see where the leak is. And along the back of the tent, a finger pokes into the canvas and goes. Zzz, zzz. And
Holy hell.
yeah, it was like something with a finger ran along the back of my canvas where my flashlight was, and I said, "Hey, stop it!" Because I've got 4 kids. I know how to be a dad voice, and my friend, because my friend, he's kind of back me. He goes, "Jack, are you okay?" I said, "No, I'm not okay." And it scared me and I said, "Hey, do you have any room in your tent?" He goes, "No, I don't have any room. It's a backpacking tent." I said, "Tough. I'm coming over." So, hey, I wiggled in that tent. And
so, was you the big spoon or the little spoon?
I guess it was the little spoon. Hey, guess what? Pride when you're trying to stay alive.
I mean, don't go sit in the truck. No.
The next morning I woke up. It was pre-dawn. I got out of the truck and I re-examined my life. And I'm like, what am I doing here? What? God.
That's funny because I go on these things, every chance that I get. And Jack, every time that I'm out looking for these things, it never fails. There comes a point at some point in the night where I get spooked and
Right.
I'd have that same come to Jesus meeting. Why do I do this? Why do I keep putting myself in these positions where I'm out here terrified?
Yeah.
And then the morning comes and you're like, hell yeah, you remember how cool that was last night?
I'll never
Why
forget.
do we do it?
Never forget the first time I heard a barred owl. The "Who cooks for you?" That.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a call that's kind of like monkey chatter. I don't know if you look it up on Google, barred owl sounds, and part of it is goes like that. And I never forget me and this guy were in Eastern Kentucky by ourselves on this trail at 3 a.m. in the pitch black, and that owl went off. And on his recording, you can hear my voice say, "Well, I think it's time to go back to the truck." But you learn this, when you spend time out in the woods, you learn what's,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Those are those Code Brown moments in your life.
Yeah.
Go get me my brown pants.
Right. And some other strange things, like I've been scouting for expeditions, and some like subtle things, like we went out to this area that's supposed to be active 2 p.m, stopped our car, got out, and as soon as we got out and started walking to the woods, an owl went, "Woo, woo, woo." That's weird. 2 p.m. Then we walked around and kind of did our scouting, picked some trails and stuff. And as we walked back out to the car, as soon as we got to the same spot, now what's that all about? 2 and 4. So this, just strange stuff. You really can't credit it to Bigfoot, but you're wondering, like, was there somebody watching us that was, telling the other people, they're here and now they're leaving, that kind of.
Yeah. Griffin Smar is asking, what is your take on wood knocks? But you had a pretty interesting experiment with wood knocks. If you want to tie that in there, Jack.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. Well, wood knocks are, I believe, Griffin, thank you for the question. They're a form of communication. And I have been around when you hear a wood knock before something happens and then after something happens. I'll give you an example. We're in West Virginia in the northeastern part of towards the Maryland border. And we had all these groups go out, and this one group found a squash that was peeking at them from up behind a tree. And it was kind of, there were 8 people in the group. They were all passing thermal around. They didn't have a recording. And so they had called for the expedition leader, Russ Jones. He's a good guy from Charleston, West Virginia. And when he walked up to the group to check it out, as he gets almost to the group, they're all looking to the west. Well, to the east and behind them on a hill, crack, wood knock as Russ came up. And then they looked back, and the thing must have sunk down and crawled away because they never saw it again. So, this is a communication like, hey, there's another guy coming. We had an expedition in Kentucky that I ran, where we had a group go out, and you could hear, we had a station with the big ear in the sky. As they were going down the trail, you could hear parallel wood knocks on the hills beside them, like they're here, now they're up here, now they're up here, and we all got on recording, very faint. So just a way to communicate to each other. And to kind of tie that back, we were trying to figure out, I tried to do a little bit of science. So we did an experiment in Kentucky, and I had some volunteers. We had a guy with 2 sticks knocked together, a guy with a tree, and a guy with the like a drumstick that you use to practice your drum that still makes a noise, and then somebody did the hand pop, and we had people go out, like 1/10 of a mile, 2/10, 3/10, all the way, and then we record which ones we could still hear. And the furthest one away we could hear was, bottom line was, 1/4 mile, and you could still hear wood knock.
That's really valuable information.
Yeah,
because when you hear a knock, it's pretty safe to say they're within 1/4 of a mile of you.
Right. And some of them, they sound like they're right on top of you. But that is, what do they do? If you and I were to go get a wood knock, we either have a Louisville slugger with us, or we look around for a tree and look around for a big stick and do it. Do you think Bigfoot's walking around doing the same thing? Or, I've read where they can make a noise. They've got big hands. They've got big mouths to do this. Is that a wood knock?
Yeah, and you can hear that it's pretty loud when you're doing it. Imagine a Bigfoot doing it.
Ginormous.
And I've also heard about like an open hand slap on a tree, instead of using a stick, using their hand on the side of a tree. I've heard that, but
man, that would sting, I would think.
Yeah, you would think. Troy's asking, what about rock throwing? Have you experienced that?
Yes, I have had. I've had rock throwing, and I've had a couple of really good witnesses that had rock throwings that had surprise endings to rock throwing. For us, I've been camping along this creek, in this real active area, and no cars around except for our vehicles. And the little pop-ups that you have, the little pop-ups or little rain flies that you can put up and most people cook on and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly that thing goes and starts shaking. I'm like, what in the world was that? And walked over, and there was a baseball-sized rock had sailed into our camp. Like something had just thrown it into our camp. That would get your attention.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of a follow-up question that Troy had was their size of the rock. Do you believe that has any correlation with intention?
Well, yeah, I think it wanted us to get the hell out of there, really, but we didn't.
Yeah, I think that's what the rock throws are, is a warning you need to be moving on.
Yeah. I had a guy report, and you can see it on if you go to Kentucky, I can't remember what county it was because I've got so many on there, but this guy was out hunting ginseng. You guys know what that is? Where you dig up the roots and everything. So his family was they were having a picnic, and the kids were down there bluegill fishing, and they were eating peanut butter sandwiches, having a good time. So he just wanders up the hill to look for ginseng. And as he goes further and further up, he sees these pebbles are falling all around him. He's like, well, that's weird. Like in Kentucky, it's woods, and then sometimes at the top, it's kind of like cliffs with boulders and stuff. And he thought, well, maybe something's up there kicking rocks down or something. And then he still working his way up. And as he gets towards the top of this hill, there crouched down is a Bigfoot, and it's waiting for him. And it's got a man face, but it's hairy all over. And it's just like crouched over. And he's there going, oh, he didn't see it till he was like right there with it, like 20 yards away. And he's like, I have a little bag for my ginseng and a little penknife to pick up. And I said, well, what'd you do? Oh my gosh, what'd you do? And he said, well, you ever walked around a neighborhood and ran into a dog that was not on a leash? It was kind of like the same thing. He's like, okay, I'm not here. I'm just here visiting. It's now, and he just kind of backpedaled, and the thing escorted him all the way out of the woods, all the way down till he could see the bright area where his kids were picnicking, and then he could, as he's walking, it was crunch, crunch, crunch right behind him all the way down, escorted him all the way down, and he got out of the, went to his family, said, "Oh, gotta go, let's go." What's wrong, Dad? What's wrong? Oh, I saw a bear up there. We better go. So he never did. Bear. Yeah, he never told him what it was because he didn't want to freak his family out that there was a giant falling off the mountain.
Now, Jackie, you talked about we just talked about the rock throwing. Yeah. I've talked about it several times that I've had in my short time doing this, short compared to yours, short time doing this. I've experienced almost everything except for a couple. I believe one of those was the rock throwing, but I can confidently say now that I have had a rock thrown at me. But the other one, and I'm curious to see if you have experienced this, is the smell. You always hear people talk about the smell. I have never smelt it. Have you?
I have smelled something in the woods, but I kind of can explain it. But no, I've never smelled that smell. I wanted to say, I'll be objective. I've never smelled that smell. I've smelled decay before, but I also found like a swampy area with a bunch of, like an old cistern with a bunch of stuff in it. So that's what I attribute it to. But no, I've never smelled what I would hear that dead meat, skunky smell.
Yeah. I always like to ask that because I like to hear how everyone describes it, because you hear several different descriptions, and I don't know. I want to experience it. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully one day.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that Class A, but we'll see.
Exactly. I am too.
Maybe this weekend, brother.
You don't catch them if you're sitting on the couch.
There you go. There you go. I'll be at the LBL this weekend. My buddy Troy and a couple others are going with us. Now you mentioned briefly that you've been to the LBL. Anything of interest happen there?
I have been to the LBL, and I haven't had anything personally that I know of. My son-in-law is from Murray, and they'll tell you that nothing's ever happened to them. But we had I don't know if you call it a funny story, but we had something happen. And this is wind the clock way back to like 2000, 2001. I was camping with my family with these 4 kids in a pop-up. They have a like a national park type campsite down there. And the kids and the wife, they all decided they wanted to go swimming. And I said, well, it's going to get dark before we get back. Oh, we really want to go. So, okay, I relented, and we parked in this parking lot and walked down this trail, and they found a little inlet where it swam. And then we got up, and sure enough, it was dark by the time we got back on the trail. No lights, pre-cell phone days. You can only see the trail because it's a lighter color than the woods. So there's lighter gravel than the darker gravel. And I swear there was something that followed us out of those woods. Like, I was trying to keep everybody calm. Because I had 4 little kids and my wife and me. And she'll say it was her that she was the one that was in the back. Then I was kind of leading in the front, just trying to keep everybody pointed and get into the car. But there was something, I don't know what it was. It could have been anything, but it felt like there was an animal, like on the back of your neck. You could kind of feel that you're being watched and you're being followed out. And this is well before I even thought about Bigfoot. It's just one of those memories that I have.
Yeah, I've experienced that too.
Yeah, and I've taken a report from LB on in a camping area where a couple was there, and it was it's always like after a big weekend, and the people that stayed Monday and Tuesday, A, that's when you get all the firewood everybody else left, and it's not as crowded. But B, and this has happened more than once in reports, that's when scavengers come down and look in the dumpsters and see what's left. And they've had more than one Bigfoot sighting about those guys that stay on till Monday and Tuesday.
Lori Wade said the exact same thing. I interviewed her on here, and I think she talked about it at the expedition too. Like, if you have an expedition that's supposed to be like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, those of you that can stay that extra night and stay until Monday, you might have an encounter because everyone else leaves.
Yeah, and
it's like, it's like they know, okay, the campers are leaving, they're heading out. There's going to be some food down here in the garbage can. So that's smart.
And that's we were talking earlier before the show about the lights of Scioto lights. And that's why I was up there in Ohio in the Shawnee Forest, was to follow up on a report that this family had stayed till like Tuesday, and something threw a log into their camp, and they got up and they just left their campsite until it was daytime. They just got in their car and drove away. And
wow.
Yeah, so that's a good tip for all you guys who are listening to do if you got the time.
All right, we got about 5 more minutes, Jack. If you got a short story you want to share, or if not, we can go ahead and end it. It's up to you, bud.
Well, I'll tell you one. I had this guy had called it, had written into the flats, which is where we go to pick up our stories. And the only thing he had written down was his name, his phone number, and his town, which was near Georgetown. If you know, that's near where they make the Toyotas, up here in Kentucky. And I said, gosh, well, that's only a half hour away from me. Let me just call him up. He didn't have any description. He didn't have anything. So I just on a whim, I just called him, and he said, I said, well, I'm Jack Smar. I see where you started a report, but you didn't put anything down. And then he had the typical guy. He's like, well, first of all, I don't believe in Bigfoot. Where's the body? Why have they ever got one? How come it's not on film? All of the usual questions, which if you look on BFRO.net, a lot of those are answered. He says, okay, well, let me tell you what happened. Last Sunday, I was hunting squirrels, and I had my little beagle dog. And usually when I get out, and I was at my dad's farm, and he is retired, so nobody really goes out there anymore. So he used to run cattle, but not anymore. So he's hunting, and usually his dog's real happy, and he's running around. And when he got out of the truck, the dog was real happy. Then suddenly the dog's on him. Dog never leaves his side the whole day. He is going through the woods, and he thinks the acorns are falling around him. And he's like, well, that's weird. It's like, this time of year, why are there acorns? And it turns out there were rocks. And it turns out that he was walking down, going from one field to the next. He turns the corner, and he comes face to face with an 8-foot tall Sasquatch, like 10 feet away. He popped around the corner. It is standing there, and it's got one arm up, holding a branch, looking at him. And the dog is like trying to crawl up his leg to get away. And he's like, oh my God. I said, well, what'd you do? He had a 12 gauge shotgun, and he had, number 6 shot in it. And he says, I don't think it would have done anything. It was 4 feet wide. He saw the face, the ears, the eyes, the nose, everything. And it confronted him. And I said, well, what happened? He pointed at it with a shotgun, and the thing just dove into some bushes. And when it dove that way, he dove this way and ran back to his car as fast as he could, ran back to his truck.
Oh my God.
This was like Tuesday. I took this, and I said, oh my gosh, let's go. Let's go out there. Let's go see what we can see. And, okay, well, let's go Saturday. I was all pumped. We're going to go there Saturday. And he called me back. He said his dad didn't want anybody out there.
That's how it always goes.
Yeah.
One quick question before we let you go, Jack.
Okay.
Troy's asking, what do you think about Dogman?
Well, I will tell you this. When I used to run expeditions in Kentucky, and I talked about going to Land of the Lakes, and I thought about it, and I said, gosh, I think I want to go look for something that's going to be shy and kind of stay away from me, and not something that's going to be mean and come at me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give Dogman a chance.
Yeah. That's probably good thinking, Jack.
That's what I'm going to say about
All right. Well, we are here at the hour mark, buddy. Good stuff. I appreciate you coming to hang out.
It's been fun.
Yes,
Awesome,
it's been
man.
very interesting.
Yeah, we've had several people comment that they've learned a lot tonight. So yeah, this is awesome.
Very good.
All right, buddy. Again, I appreciate it, and you enjoy the rest of your evening, okay?
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
How good was that?
That was awesome.
And that hour flew by. They always go so fast.
All the good ones.
That was really, really good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. No, great.
All right. Awesome participation tonight from the audience. Great questions, great comments. We had some newbies. Most of them were related to Jack, but that's fine. We'll take them. There were a few that weren't. So, yeah, glad to have you guys tonight. We hope that you all hit that subscribe button. And thank you, Miss Naoma Finn, for spending the $1.99 to become an exclusive member. Blue Crossroads there. I did see you earlier say that you were sent here by Gemma Jade. Gemma, I interviewed her earlier this morning. Her episode will be released tomorrow on Paranormal Odyssey. She wrote a book on the Black-Eyed Kids. She's going to be coming on for a live show too, but wanted to get her done first because her book is new. Wanted to get her some publicity on it. And then in April, we're going to set up a time for her to come on for a live show. But Blue Crossroads, thank you very much. I'm glad that she sent you over.
That's awesome.
All right. You got anything before we get out of here, ma'am?
No, just thank you all for coming. And we do, let me tell you this because it's not our normal showtime. This Thursday evening at 8, we had a reschedule. He was going to be on the 20th, but we had to reschedule him. So Thursday evening, the 25th, I think it's the 25th, at 8:00 p.m., we are going to be interviewing Thomas Henderson, who had a Bigfoot encounter. So Thursday at 8, come back in here and see us.
Yep. This Thursday, 8:00 p.m. We will see you then. And this weekend, I will be in the land between the lakes. I'm coming back Sunday, and I got to hurry because I will be a guest on Steve Cole's show Sunday evening. So I'll share that too. You guys can check that out if you would. All right. Say your goodbyes, ma'am.
Goodbye. Have a good evening.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. We will see y'all Thursday. Y'all be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Bye.